Welcome to the Kings and Priests podcast. Today I want to invite you into a conversation that I'm having with Wendy. She's known on TikTok as Heart Song, and I would encourage you to follow her. And today we're going to be talking about the reality, your reality, my reality, but what is the truth? Wendy, it's been awesome knowing you through the years, and you're finally get to be on our podcast. It's a blessing to us.
Thank you.
So our conversation started, many conversations, but every now and then one hits. Well, this one hit. And we were talking about, I think the way you put it was awareness to consciousness. Can you explain that a little bit?
We talk about truth a lot, like the truth. And then we talk about, what's real. And sometimes what's real to me, that's just how I see it, is not always the truth. I can really be experiencing something, but that may not be the truth of what is really going on. And so I may have a skewed perception of that. And so when we were talking about that, I want having awareness of your own consciousness, of your own reality, there's a space I always kind of drive from now. And it's like a space where I am watching my own consciousness, in a sense, which makes me not, I don't feel like we are just consciousness. I know I've heard people say that, like, we're just consciousness. I disagree. I think that we are the awareness of the consciousness. And I think that's really important to sort of step into that, because if you're not aware of your consciousness, then it's almost like the consciousness, and again, I'm using words to try to bridge together stuff for people listening, but I feel like the consciousness can run you in a sense that you're not aware of. And you can be sitting from a very skewed lens. And I learned this in my walk, that at some point I popped out of this place internally, and I was able to start watching myself. And when I was able to start watching myself, I was able to watch all the different angles that maybe just me being in that consciousness wasn't showing me from before. And then I was able to see, like, wow, there's all these different perspectives that I'm not even considering in my walk every day. And I'm taking things this particular way, but really when I step back to this place of awareness, I'm able to see all these other angles that I couldn't see before. What is this place? This is a new place, So
is that what you're saying? The awareness to consciousness or awareness of consciousness? It's like being aware of the places you didn't see before. Is that what you're trying to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and that gave me all these different other points of view. And then that allows me to, in my opinion, it allows me to discern better of the truth, because I was in a place of non-discernment. I really didn't have the discernment.
Yeah. I lived that life for forever, for decades, it seemed like, where you had it figured out. And anything that sounded different, you shut it off. Like, no, I can't listen to that. Or it might be a bad influence on what I believe. Or it's wrong because it's not what I believe. And living in that place where anything that challenged me, I would shut off. Like, no, you don't get to challenge my belief system. Which through the years, what I've come to see is that was very hindering in my walk, because it allowed me to be in this bubble for 25 years. And I couldn't see straight. I couldn't see beyond this little bubble. Even though the bubble was not working, it wasn't producing anything good in my life, but I wasn't willing to listen to anything else. And so you just kind of stay in that echo chamber, just hearing the same stuff over and over again, not allowing anything into that echo place that challenges, that might break the echo for a second. But sometimes, like with me, it took me falling down in that place, in that echo chamber. I fell down in it. And when I fell down, I was like, wait, this isn't working. Maybe I'm missing something. And that's all it took for me, is just to entertain it just for a second. That other voice, the voice that challenged, and it started opening up everything. I mean, for real, like everything,
Yeah, I think that, and we've talked about this before, that God meets you where you're at, right?
Yeah.
You've said that a time or two, and I totally agree with that because and when you start realizing that God meets you where you're at, then you have to entertain the idea and kind of humble yourself that maybe, just maybe, there are other walks and other religions and other perspectives that God is meeting people where they're at. Because I think the truth can be multifaceted, it can be looked at from multiple angles, but what fruit does it bear?
Yeah.
And so that's always kind of where I position myself because I grew up strict evangelical. You're going to hell. This is what's happening. If you don't believe in this, if you don't walk in this, and so it was terrifying when I first started becoming aware of all these other angles. There was a part of me because of the programming all those years of don't you dare even look upon this. Don't you dare, there was a part of me that was like, I can't do this. And so I had this internal battle going on and of fear, of absolute terror,
No,
fear.
that's what drives it.
It does. And I remember in my mind kind of looking at the circumstance and something spoke to me in my spirit and was like, you know, almost like pushing me, the awareness, we'll call it the awareness. The awareness was pushing me to go in these other directions. And I was like, wait, why does this feel like the right thing to do? Even though my entire programmed life, I've been told to not even look upon these other angles, to look upon these other things. And so when I finally got enough courage to start looking at all the angles, now I've dove into all different, all different religions, New Age, all of it. And the beautiful thing about it is that from all these angles, there are people, just like there's people that are deceived or whatever, people that are confused or skewed. These, in all modalities, they're speaking of the same thing. It's just from a different angle. And just like all angles can bear bad fruit, all angles can bear good fruit too. So it's not the POV that's the answer, the right answer, whatever. It's the fruit that it bears. Period.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is we've been talking about that a lot in our circles about looking at the fruit of what you're attached to, the fruit of your belief system, because, even in the scriptures, you have this thing that Jesus said, and he said, a good tree cannot bear bad fruit. It's not possible. So if there's bad fruit that's coming out, it shows you that you're rooted into something that's not quite right. The problem for me was I wasn't receiving that good fruit. I wasn't seeing the good fruit, but I was hopeful that eventually this is going to produce something good. And 20 years later, I came to the spot where it's like, how long does this take to produce? Because 20 years later, I'm still not seeing good fruit. At what point do you say, okay, obviously I'm not rooted into something that's would produce good fruit? And I will say this too. It doesn't take 25 years for fruit. Because when I started stepping over and confronting some of the things I believe, hearing spirit on, teaching me all things as it says, almost immediately I started seeing good fruit. Like almost immediately. Mm-hmm. My life from that day to 8 months later wasn't even recognizable. Complete flip around. And so it doesn't take 10, 20 years for good fruit to happen. It's an immediate thing, I think. That's what I've experienced.
Yeah. I mean, it truly comes upon you. The spirit comes upon you. Yeah. The spirit of truth comes upon you, comes within you. And I think that's another thing that it's about embodiment of the spirit of truth. It's not just talking about the truth. It's embodying it. And then that actually affects the projection of the hologram. People talk about the holographic universe. Yes, it's from within, without. And so when you change what's in here, then this reflects.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one is within the other. So I think that's why we see all these different versions of God
Yeah.
because we are it's the centers in here. And I think that's why I make that differentiation. I mean, you had brought up in our conversation about how reality isn't always true, and you had broken it down really good about how, and I think in our conversation I talked about how the truth is the intention of the one that created it. If you want to go here with this really quick, it's
Yeah.
it's
No,
like
it's good.
it's like if I say something to you right now, Serge, and I say, and I mean it in a certain way, your lens without awareness, your lens without the ability to observe yourself could be there could be some words I used from a trauma that you had in the past. And so now you're going to project onto me that lens.
Yeah.
And you may take what I said completely incorrect.
Right.
And so in that way, it's real to you.
Yep.
It's a true happening. But is it the truth of what I was saying? And I would have to say no. You know,
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can say what the true intention is because I'm the creator of the intention of what I was saying.
Right.
So I don't know if you want to say more about that, but you articulated
Well,
it so well in your example when we were talking.
my wife said something on Facebook, and a friend of hers got really angry. I told her I was going to put this on here. Girl got really angry at her and deleted her comment, then sent her a message in private like, I can't believe you said that to me. But my wife was just joking. It meant nothing by it. It was just a straight joke. And so my wife tried to call her. She wouldn't answer. And we knew, well, she's angry. She's upset. And it's like, well, that really stinks because that's not how I meant it. And so about an hour or two later, we went to the grocery store, and who do we meet down the aisle? That woman. And immediately my wife's like, I did not mean that. That's not what I meant. It was a joke. And in that, my wife's intention was a joke. And her intention was to be fun and lighthearted. But that girl, her friend, read that post, and her reality of that situation was she's trying to offend me. But that was a distorted reality. That wasn't the truth.
Yes. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
truth was that it was joking. It came from a pure place, just being lighthearted. But because it triggered you, because there was trauma or whatever was attached to it, it made you see through that distorted lens. And so the truth was distorted through your lens, and now you saw this reality that wasn't rooted in truth. And I've lived decades in some of this stuff with being attacked of the devil all the time. And then one day realize, wait a second, that's not even a thing. I'm obviously, if it's not a thing, then I'm not being attacked of the devil. Something else is going on. And it changed my world, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was really something you were experiencing. I believe that because but it wasn't the truth. It's not.
Right.
It's not the truth of what God's truth, what we call God.
Yeah, you can experience a reality that is not true. You can
Absolutely.
100% experience a reality that isn't true.
Yeah, and then I guess that would be what people call your truth.
Yeah.
I mean, your truth and my truth, I get that. And sometimes I think your reality can align with the absolute truth. And it's like I said, I think I said this when we were talking, or I'm sure I did. For me, the way I look at the truth is that the truth remains the same. It's only what comes up upon it that changes. And we can align with that, or we can change it. And we have the right to do that. We can experience an incorrect, or not an incorrect. How do I want to say that? We can experience an alternate reality. Yeah. Okay. And I know this might hit for some people kind of tough because I get the your truth, my truth thing. I really get it. Like I get it so much. I embodied it. I understand, but I'm not really interested in my truth or your truth. I'm actually interested in embodying the absolute. And I think where we also kind of go wrong is, or kind of get a little skewed, is we're looking at truth as like a finite thing that you find, like a fact. And facts and truth can be two totally different things. You know what I mean? And it's like we're always fact checking and all this kind of stuff. But the truth, I look at it like the truth is a resonant wave, that can be seen from multiple angles, but that resonant wave still produces and manifests good fruit, just like different kinds of trees, right? You have fruit on this type of tree, you have a pear tree, you have a lemon tree, but all of it's good. All of it's good fruit, and it can be different. It can be different, and it can be looked at from all different angles, all this different fruit to try.
Yeah.
That's different, but it's all true. But if the pear tree is rotten and the lemon tree is rotten and all this type of stuff, then that would be bad fruit. And so you can have differences in that way.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a good example or not, but
No, it is.
it's kind of how I see what the truth is. And actually in Hebrew and Aramaic, they talked about experiential truth. The truth wasn't just something that you found. The truth was something you embodied and experienced. And so we look back at ancient texts, not just in the Bible. I'm talking the Gnostics. I'm talking, all this. This is ancient language. And so I think we pull that out of there. I think we pull out the fact that that truth is experienced. Truth is a state of being, in my opinion.
So yeah, let me give one more example of what this looks like. So you could say that there's a woman who makes a comment to another woman, and she tells that same comment to another woman, and then to another woman. You've heard this story many a times, where you pass down the phrase, and by the end of the line, it's all messed up. 9 out of 10 times, if not every time, something in it is skewed. The truth of the matter was what the woman brought forth, not what it got interpreted as through all the people. A big one for me is how so many people around the world view God as angry and harsh and wrathful. And it's harmful. It's harmful to you. It's harmful to your relationships. It's harmful to the way we see ourselves. It's straight harmful. And the truth of the matter is God isn't wrathful, though. And when you get intimate and start understanding and engaging with God, with who you are, you start to realize the God we were sold was never the God that he is. You know? And so the truth of the matter is, you may be experiencing this reality of a God that's wrathful, where your life's always under attack, where you're never good enough, where you're unworthy. All these things, that the reality that you grew up in this world, you came into this world as a sinful being that's dirty. But the truth is, no, you're God's child, and you always were, and you always will be. That's the truth of the matter. But I see so many people get caught up in their reality because it's what we see, it's what before us, it's what we are experiencing, and have a hard time breaking into the truth. And I'd like to get into that. How do we see, as you have come to see, in a way that allows yourself to be challenged or your beliefs to be challenged and shifted? What are some of the ways we can walk in a way that brings us into truth?
I think, well, for me, I mean, I'll just explain how I said how it was very confronting for me at first to walk in other things. But what it was shown to me in the spirit was that the truth will always be there. So why are we fearful to walk and see other perspectives if we truly believe in the truth that we claim we believe? And that echoed through me a lot of times. So I think an answer to that question is I think we really need to collectively step into a place where we are exploring other points of view and allowing spirit to, not some teacher telling us, not sit in ourselves, sit in the stillness and go and explore. And that can look all different ways. I think prohibiting people or telling people they shouldn't read certain things or shouldn't explore certain things or or whatever spirit brings to them, I think is a travesty. I really,
Yeah.
really do. It is clearly dividing the mind and fractalizing it and partitioning it into a place where you are denying your internal curiosity. And your internal curiosity is spirit speaking to you, in my opinion, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I feel like that's been the biggest one for me is opening myself up to be challenged. I used to ignore all the things that, let's say scripture. I've studied scripture my whole life. I would ignore the ones that challenge my belief. But when I finally started just embracing that tension and looking into those things that challenged it, that's when I started to see things in a whole different way. And it's like, wait a second, I only had like one perspective of the thing.
Yeah.
But when I was able to confront those things that were challenging me and ask questions about it, and it's like, why? How does this fit? Man, it just broadens it and it brings you a full picture. And so instead of seeing like this, you start seeing like this. And I believe that's what you're sharing even right now is this instead of this. But
Yes.
this doesn't produce much.
No.
I'm missing a
Embrace.
whole lot of things when I'm like this, you
You
know?
are. Embrace the wave, not just the particle. There's many particles in a wave, you know. Well,
Yeah,
we're
and
talking about resonance, you know.
right, and it's listening to other people, not to prove them wrong, not to get your statements in right after they're done, but actually listen to them. And it's okay, you don't have to agree, but listen and hear because I feel like that art has gone out the window. But being open to hear what people say, have like an honest conversation with someone. Don't always go in with the mindset of ministry or you have the goods and you're going to deliver it to them and you're not open to what they have to deliver to you. Because I'm telling you, everybody, even the worst of they have something to deliver to you also. There can be a heavenly exchange between you and whoever you encounter. And I think that's huge for like opening yourself up to not being in such a mindset that you can't see straight and this is the way and the only way. But when you start hearing other people, you'll start hearing the voice of God in it and it'll shift you, it'll broaden you, and it'll bring you, from what I've seen, into a greater truth,
Yeah.
a more fruitful place.
Serge, what do you think would be if you could, I don't know, if you could say to people, I mean, do you think that they should explore, you know, other, like when it comes to religions,
Yeah.
how do you see that with people that, let's say I'm coming at you and I'm saying, you know, I'm not looking in, Jesus said this in the Bible, this, and this and that, you know,
Sure.
how do you approach that?
I'm not a fan of religion. I get it. But where I always point people to is relationship. Like, who is God to you? How has God proven himself in your life? That straightens up a whole lot. It goes past religion. It goes past sacred texts. You know, I don't feel like God was ever someone to or something to learn about and understand. I think God is someone to experience. It's something to experience. It was never meant to be hit from a place of knowledge. It's us. It's in us. It's through us. This is our life. You are so connected. There's no separation whatsoever. So I can look into text and all, and there might be some good stuff in it, but it's just knowledge. And yeah, I know that, you know, you can get things through the Bible and all these things. I get that. But the greater of it all is knowing him. And I feel like experience clears up a lot. Like when I thought God was wrathful and angry, one of the bigger moments in my life was looking back over my life and seeing that he's never been wrathful and angry to me, though. Even when I knowingly do things I knew I wasn't supposed to do, that
Yeah.
my life was still good.
Yeah.
That no, he was just there the whole time, just guiding and leading me and being with me, and like any good father would.
Yeah. And I
Yep.
mean, it's a soft whisper. It's not this loud, you know, wrathful, like it's not. And just to frame it for people that might hear this, like when we say he, we're not talking about gender. We're
Right.
talking about
Yeah.
the all.
It's for me, it's a lack of words to
I
describe.
use it. I no, I use it too. I use it too.
Yeah.
I've really tried to work on, like, I've seen people get in arguments because they're like, "You think God's a man?" No, no, nobody's saying using he, because back in ancient texts they would use father and mother in two different aspects. One is the void into the thing. So I wanted to point that out, not for you per se,
Yeah.
but for other people, that we have to like really listen to like when you say father or God or I or he, I know exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah. Right.
because I'm not focused on the gender.
Yeah.
I see a lot of gender arguments right now. Oh, the whole it's all a man and this, that, and that's not what we've projected, that skewed version over top,
Yeah.
you know?
Another thing to say on religion too, and it's something that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And that is that every culture interprets God through
Mhm.
their culture. Everyone.
Yes.
And we can say that he doesn't, and every religion would say that he doesn't. But you can go through every major religion and even some that aren't major and see that God is always interpreted through their culture. Even
Yeah.
the one that the Americans today grab a hold of for the most part.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is, and I did recently did research on this because I was like, why has the United States grabbed a hold of a Jewish God? Because straight, it came from Jewish texts.
Yeah.
The Bible was written to a people under a law, a Jewish people, Israelites, and people who were coming out of that.
Yep.
Why did we grab a hold of that? And you still see in churches today where you have the Israel flag flying. You have the Messianic churches, like where they're trying to implement Jewish culture into what Christianity is supposed to look like.
Right.
And I would say even this, in the United States, it's evolved to what we see today. This is not what Christianity looks like all over the world.
Nope.
But our culture has influenced
Yes.
what we call God, and we call it Christianity. It's just another world religion, in my opinion.
Right.
But you cannot ignore that, though. And so, what's it look like to experience God outside of whatever religion you are drawn towards, whatever church that you're at? What does it look like to experience God outside of that? What's it look like to experience God if you never had a Bible? Because most people, most Christians would say, that's blasphemous. Our relationship is through the Bible. Well, that's silly to say because most of history, man did not have a Bible to go with. Yeah, there might have been some sacred text there, but it wasn't to the masses. People like you and I couldn't have access to it.
So
they have the experience God.
Yeah, we hadn't even read it. We couldn't even read, some of us.
Right. Exactly.
Even so, I would argue that the writings of stuff have actually skewed the experience even more. I could argue that because...
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's why the past year it was spoken to me to get away from reading. Not because I think it's bad to read, but because there was something inside of me that God wanted to show me, that to experience it. And I heard this in my spirit. I mean, I'm not talking about little voices. I'm talking about the spirit. Your spirit will speak to you inside of you, and it will guide you into all the truth. Ooh, that sounds familiar. But the spirit of truth, when you embody it, it will just guide you, and you just won't have desires for certain things anymore. And so I follow that. If I'm not desiring to read, I don't make myself read.
Right.
I'm not trying to find truth in a writing or a perspective that somebody else had that was maybe using that to control certain things or control the narrative.
Yeah.
And so then it allows you to experience God. I think, was it you that I was talking to that would, sometimes it's almost like experience God first and then read the Bible, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a better way, because you get to know God,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you go read it, you're going to read it a whole new different way. You're not going to read it the way we've been taught. Absolutely. Even what you're saying, people can say this is ridiculous, but what you're saying is even within their scriptures. But you wouldn't see that if you ran to the scriptures first, or you ran to the person or to a discipleship program or whatever. You wouldn't see that first.
No.
But when you experience Spirit, then it'll make more sense to you. You'll see it in a light you never saw it before, because you know Him.
Yeah, you know him. You hear, as it says, we're referencing that you hear his voice. You know his voice. You know the frequency of truth.
Yeah.
Once you start experiencing, and that's why I use that word truth all the time. I love the calling it the spirit of truth, because I think we can embody and we can experience and we can be attuned to different types of spirits, the human vessel, we can be attuned to different things.
Yeah.
And when that comes upon you, and I hear people in all walks saying about how they were touched by what I'll call the spirit of truth, because it's a generalized term that everybody can relate to. But what I'm talking about is the God is, they'll talk about, some people talk about it like I had a Kundalini awakening and it came upon me. Same thing. That's what they're talking about. And I've noticed that in everything,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. It can happen to all kinds of people. And you see this all the way back in ancient writings too. And another thing I point out in some of the writings that we can glean from, but I've experienced it, is, I see a lot of times you can see this in the Bible and other places where it talks about, they'll say, like, oh my God, they're talking about this internal relationship.
Yeah.
And then they'll talk about it as an external relationship. And I can see that in these writings about how they had two different experiences. And you can see where there's that inner struggle between their intimate relationship, right? And this external.
Yeah.
So you can kind of glean from that. And these are the things that, these are just other humans. I mean, finding God, finding the God within them,
Yeah. That's
so
powerful. Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, your journey has taken you through looking into all kinds of things and being into all kinds of groups, even like the most craziest, what most of us would think is that is a crazy group. Why would you even go there? But it's taking you through all these things. And that's what's fascinating about you, is you come out on the other side going, I see the same things in it all.
It is.
Just different words, different ways to articulating, but we're all saying the same thing.
We're all saying the same thing. We're all saying the same thing. And just like as much as somebody can put down, like I was in a ufology group for a while,
Right.
The aliens are coming. In that group, there were some people that I could see were seeing from a skewed lens of their own trauma and projecting. And then there were some people that were embodying the truth of that. It's just how God came to them. And it's the same way in religion. You can go to church or Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism, or, you can bear poor fruit being any of those. It's not the religion or the belief system that's correct or incorrect. It's what you embody.
Yeah. We do a lot of work with recovery. And basically every program brings in God. Higher power, it just depends on the program, but they bring in God at some point. And I think I put it this way a lot of, get to know God relationship, because what I've seen is when you get to know God, it really reveals who you are. In your search, it reveals who you are. As you and I know, God is all in all. And I think what it's trying to say is, this is God.
Yeah.
You see me, you're seeing God. When you
You are
experience
seeing.
me, like, no,
Mhm.
not God. No, God, period.
Yeah.
The grass, even the trees, everything. It's God is all in all. And I think that is God. Wendy, when I say things like get to know God, I already know where that leads. That leads to them knowing who they are you are.
Yeah.
Because you are, I am. So it leads to like discovering who you are. In the recovery circles, if I was to go straight to you need to learn who you are, it's not that's not I'm broken, I'm dirty, I can't get things together, they can't go that route. It
Yeah.
doesn't even make sense to them. No, I need this higher power. Yeah, but it's just going to turn right back to you.
Yes,
You
the
know?
true mirror. The true
Yeah,
mirror.
right.
Yeah. No, I like how you
It
put
is.
that. I like how you put that because I think maybe that is the evolution of us finding God is because becoming so lost in ourselves that we have to project it into something else so that it mirrors back what we really are.
Yeah. It really does. Yeah. And it's so wild. Like religion will teach you how messed up that is and die to yourself and not my will, but your will be done. And just all this distorted stuff that, again, because you've not had a relationship first, you read that and see it completely distorted.
Yes.
And it was never meant to say things like that. He didn't create you to get rid of you. You
Yeah.
weren't born to this earth just to act like you don't even exist and your existence is dirty and unworthy, and that's so toxic and weird. It really is. And if anything, that's the truth that I would love to see people step into, is that all this stuff, the reality that you're broken, the reality that you're not worthy, the reality of God's angry, and just all these things that go against you having a good life, that you come into the truth of realizing, no, I was never dirty. I was never
Yeah.
unworthy. I got it going on. God is all in all. I am, you know?
Yeah, you have nowhere else to ascend to go to. Like there's not
Right.
steps of
Yeah.
ascension.
Right.
It's in the spiritual side where we're always I got to get to the next level
Yeah.
and I got to get to the next level and I'm always healing and I'm never healed and I'm if once I get here then I'll be healed. No, that's now.
Right.
Yeah.
And you become at peace with this. I'm at peace with this.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Yeah, but you're flawed, and I'm at peace with that though. I'm at peace. I don't think it's flawed, for one,
Perfection
but
and imperfection
yeah,
or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Like we don't all have to look like plastic. We can.
right. And all those years of just like trying to be the better person and all that, man, it really got me nowhere. And when I became okay with me, it's what you said. Like it automatically, all that stuff automatically came into alignment. Like I'm good with me. I'm not at war with myself anymore. And that is like an awesome place to be. And it hurts me when and I hear it all the time because I'm still in the circles, but it messes with me when I hear people. And I know it messes with you. I saw your video on TikTok. It messes with me to hear people talk about how unworthy they are. And
Yeah,
it's like,
it breaks my heart.
yeah,
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It is
yeah,
because yeah, I'm okay with this too.
yeah.
I'm done. I don't have any hierarchy thing to climb anymore. It's a great place
Right.
to be. I'm already there, and I see that mentality. It does bleed into other things, and it's just a difference between we don't need a middleman. We don't need a bunch of people in between us telling us and interpreting the voice of God inside of you.
Right. Anything else you want to add?
Um, I don't know. I pulled something out that it's kind of sciency, but I'll just throw it in here.
Yeah.
Because it's something. It was weird. I was cleaning off my desk, and this I hadn't seen this in a really long time, and it was something that I had pulled off one time, and it's you ever hear of the heart math, right? And I don't know why. I
Yeah.
just feel like this is pertinent for some reason, and I don't even know where it fits in, but you can fit it in wherever you want. But It talks about HeartMath did, the electrophysical evidence of intuition and the role of the heart. Okay. And we are in a society that is so focused on brain neural activity. And there's this space where you embody and you feel. And I think feelings and emotions are different, but that's a whole nother thing. But it's the study they did is a contribution to scientific study on intuition, which is overall understood as a process by which information normally outside the range of conscious awareness is perceived by the psychophysiological systems. And so the Oxford Dictionary, as a starting point, defines intuition as immediate apprehension by the mind without reasoning, immediate apprehension by a sense. It is described as apprehending the totality of a situation or psychological reality. It does not work from the part to whole. Therefore, in these terms, intuition is defined as a process by which normally outside the range of cognitive processes is immediately sensed and perceived in the body and mind as certainty of knowledge or feeling about the totality of things distant or yet to happen. The study points out that both the brain and the heart process information about the emotionality stimulus before the stimulus is presented. The theory draws on the principles of the holographic organization to describe how the body is connected via sensory perception to a field of energy that spectrally enfolds information about future events. Studies show that emotionally arousing stimulus 4 to 7 seconds prior to experiencing the stimulus. There is compelling evidence in this study and many others that the heart may receive the pre-stimulus information before the brain. This suggests that the apprehension of information pertaining to future emotional events can and is a system-wide process, including the heart, brain, and even the body as a whole. Usually, the deceleration of the heart rate indicating a shift in informational content is usually interpreted as the result of an increase in the parasympathetic outflow controlled solely by the brain. However, this study also indicates that these things can originate in the heart, which then sends a message to the brain and processed from that origin. The heart is a sensory organ and an information encoding and processing. It can learn, remember, and make functional decisions independent of the cranial brain. The heart can even override the inputs from the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. This shows that the heart plays a key role in the perception of future events. So that was a lot that I read all in one little bit. But for me, one of the biggest things that helped me, believe it or not, understand how perhaps spirit can speak with us and talk to us and where to kind of focus was science. Some of this HeartMath stuff, and it helped my mind put it into perspective. And then I started when I would sit with myself and I would meditate and everything, I would really focus on where things were coming into me on my body. And I realized that we say spirit speaking to us, the soft whisper, but it was somewhere in my heart that I would feel this pull, almost a knowing, before my brain started making all kinds of chatter. And so I guess I would tell people, maybe put down the books.
Yeah.
Put down the books.
Yes.
And just really feel this space. I mean, for those people that love science, okay, here you go. Look up the HeartMath studies.
Yeah.
They have proven this unequivocally, and I think it's so profound because the brain helps us with the structure, but that coherence between those two is what guides us into all the truth.
Yeah.
And it is outside of time and space. It is outside of what some might call, some people call this a simulation. I call it a holographic simulation because I think it's a little bit of both. And so anyway, I don't know why. I don't know how that ties in, but I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Follow Wendy by searching TikTok for Heart Song. Kings and Priests Podcast is the ministry of Urban Eden Community. To purchase the book, The New Creation, to get more resources, or to visit our weekly gatherings in Tulsa, Oklahoma, visit the website urbanedencmty.com.